To you from Atlanta, Georgia. Special edition of ATL Prime Sports. Our show is normally on 8 to 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesdays. We normally take your calls at 678-280-7123. We will do that on Wednesdays. During this pandemic, we're going to all be on the air on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 4 to 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will not take your calls. Generally, we'll have guests. I'm Todd Quarter. Stephanie is not with me today. She'll be on tomorrow. JJ is not with me. He will be on tomorrow. We've got Breck back in the San Francisco metro area running the board, and I am here in Atlanta. Big day in sports today. The IOC announces the 2020 Tokyo Summer Olympics. They will be canceled until next year, until 2021. What took the IOC so long? I mean, I guess they were hoping for a miracle, and we're not going to get one with this pandemic. I don't understand it. They left the athletes in limbo who are training, well, attempting to train. I don't know how you can train if we're all in self-quarantine. I guess you can do a lot of things in your house to make you stronger, sit-ups, push-ups, things like that. You can run on a treadmill and etc. But you need the training of outdoors, and you need professional facilities, and you also need your trainers in order to be able to get ready for the Olympics. And you can't do that during a pandemic. So finally, they announced today that the Tokyo Summer Olympics will be canceled until next year. Also, Terry Bradshaw's comments on Tom Brady today. Why go there? Terry Bradshaw, as you know, is a great quarterback, 4-time Super Bowl champion with the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 1970s. He's one of the lead co-hosts on Fox pregame show for the National Football League. He does a fabulous job. But why would he question Tom Brady in going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Why would you question it? Think about that. Why go there? Tom Brady, obviously, after some long thought, decided that was the best place for him to go. After being with the New England Patriots for 20 years. 20 years. He was with the New England Patriots. We all know he won 6 Super Bowls. We all know he participated in 9. But why do you have to be so critical of Tom Brady? I just don't understand why you would do that. I mean, obviously, Tom Brady and the Patriots came to a standstill. They came to a standstill. Was it over money? It's always about the money. Is it about ego? It could be. Maybe Belichick wanted to go on his own. Maybe Brady wanted to go on his own without Belichick. Who knows? Who knows? But to criticize him, saying it's not going to work, why would Tampa Bay sign a 43-year-old quarterback to a $50 million contract for 2 years at $25 million a year? He thought the Buccaneers were basically crazy. He thought Brady was crazy to leave New England because he had it made. He said that Belichick can win without Brady. And he went 11-5 one season when Tom Brady got hurt with another quarterback. That's true. He did do that. But the Patriots didn't make the playoffs that year. They lost on a tiebreaker. Tom Brady, his only coach, his entire career has been Bill Belichick, professional career, that is. This is the first time Tom Brady ever had the chance to become a free agent in his life. Think about that. When he was highly recruited, he wasn't highly recruited, out of the University of Michigan. Not a lot of schools were looking at Tom Brady. Michigan was one of the big schools that was looking at Tom Brady coming out of high school. Tom Brady came in. He sat behind Brian Griese. He was the backup when Michigan won the national title in 1997. He was the backup quarterback. He got his chance after Brady left, split his time with Drew Henson. He did. Some games he started, some games Henson started. Lloyd Carr, the head coach at the time, wanted to see which quarterback could play better during the games. Finally, Tom Brady won the job. Finally, he won the job. He still split time his senior year and his junior year, like I just stated. And then he was the 6th round draft pick of the New England Patriots, the 199th pick of the draft, which we all know. Think about this. Tom Brady was the 4th quarterback on the Patriots roster. The 4th quarterback on the Patriots roster. Today, we don't have 4 quarterbacks on a team's roster. Tom Brady was fortunate to make the New England Patriots. Bill Belichick decided to keep 4 quarterbacks. Good thing he did, eh? So he got his chance when Drew Bledsoe was injured in a game against the New York Jets in the early part of the season. Got his chance. And as we know, the rest is history. We also know that Tom Brady never reached free agency his entire career. He was able to agree on a contract ahead of time with the Patriots. He took less money to stay with the New England Patriots. He wanted to build a team around him. He did that. He did that for 20 years. And now that he has free agency and he's got his chance to pick finally where he wants to go, the first time in his career, somebody like Terry Bradshaw's stature criticizes him, which in my opinion is unfairly. Terry Bradshaw doesn't know the entire situation between Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. As a matter of fact, I don't either. That's why I'm not criticizing him. He made a decision what was best for him and his football career and his family to go to Tampa Bay. Now, I guarantee it, some of it came down to money. It always does. In professional sports, it's always about the money. It always is. Always. And 2, they just couldn't come to agreement with the money and the years. The Patriots wanted to go 1 year at a time. Tom Brady said, I'm playing until I'm 45, come hell or high water. And the Patriots said, well, if you're doing that, we're only doing 1 year at a time. Yet Terry Bradshaw criticized him for leaving the Patriots. The Patriots only wanted him on his terms. He only wanted to stay with the Patriots on his terms, Tom Brady. Guess what? They couldn't come to an agreement, so Tom Brady left on his own terms, and he went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He even had a meeting with Kraft, the owner of the Patriots. Bob Kraft, he had a meeting with him at his house. That was it. We all know Brady the next day went on Twitter and Instagram and announced he was leaving. So why wouldn't Tom Brady go to the Buccaneers? Was it the right move? Only time will tell. Was it the right move for the Patriots to let Tom Brady go? Only time will tell. We'll have to see. We don't know yet. We'll have to see. But to sit there in the national media, to sit there and who's to blame for Tom Brady leaving New England, I don't think anybody is to blame. Not a soul. You can blame the money if you like. It always comes down to money. The Patriots and Tom Brady couldn't come on an agreement. I just explained why. So he left. He went to Tampa Bay. He's got great wide receivers at Tampa Bay. He has a rejuvenated defense. He's probably rejuvenated. He's got a new environment. Think about it. You've been with the Patriots for 20 years, 20. And you know what? This is like a marriage. People get tired of one another after 25, 30 years, and they leave. Which, to me, that's a different tired subject, because I've been married almost 29 years, and I'm certainly not tired of my wife. I love her very much. But this is different. This is football. This is a working relationship. This is not a love relationship. So Brady decided to go his own way, and Belichick's staying where he is, and he's going to do it his way. And you know what? If Brady doesn't win a Super Bowl, that doesn't mean he couldn't win it without Belichick. I don't care what the national media tells you. And say Belichick doesn't win a Super Bowl without Tom Brady, that doesn't mean he couldn't win a Super Bowl without Tom Brady. There's 53 men on a football team. Football is the ultimate team game. The game is won in the line of scrimmage offensively and defensively. So my point is, we're going to find out how these guys do without one another. But my mind's not changed on either one of them. Belichick's the greatest coach that's ever coached the NFL with 6 Super Bowls, and Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback in the NFL with 6 Super Bowl championships and been to 9 Super Bowls. But to sit there and say who's to blame, I think they're equal. They got tired of one another, and that was it. They said, see you later. It was about the money, and that's that. But for Terry Bradshaw to criticize him is crazy. He decided to go somewhere else. That's what free agency is all about. He got the money he wanted. He's got the coach he wants to play for. God bless him. God bless him. And you know what? That's what I think. Now, on the line is Chris Purtle from WAXE-FM 107.9 and 1370 out of Vero Beach, Florida. Chris, welcome to ATL Prime Sports.
Hey, Todd. Good to be with you today.
Good to be with you. I want your opinion on Terry Bradshaw's comments on Tom Brady today. I just thought they were pretty critical. I gave my opinion. And, what is yours? And that's A. And then B, who's to blame for Brady leaving New England? Is it Belichick or Brady?
Well, in terms of Terry Bradshaw's remarks, this isn't the first time we've heard Terry Bradshaw be a little controversial in some of his statements. It was just about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, he made some controversial remarks regarding Mike Tomlin, which I thought were completely off base. This is a coach that has already won a Super Bowl for the Steelers. He's appeared in 2 Super Bowls. We saw the job he's done the past couple of years in holding that team together, why they had to deal with the head cases like the Antonio Browns and Le'Veon Bells of the world. So it's not the first time that Terry Bradshaw has made controversial remarks, and I can't help but think that Bradshaw and his people, the people involved in promoting Terry Bradshaw here in 2020, are just trying to get his name out in the sports world and get his name out there, because it obviously hasn't been relevant in many, many years. So I think that has something to do with the comments that Bradshaw made. In terms of whose fault it was, Brady leaving New England, I think the Patriots have a policy. Their policy is they would rather get rid of somebody a year too early than a year too late. And you think that maybe they might change that policy when it comes to the 9-time Super Bowl appearing quarterback Tom Brady, a guy who's won 6 Super Bowls, the only NFL player in the history of the NFL to win 4 Super Bowl MVPs. You might think that maybe they would change their policy, but at the same time, Todd, I don't think you can blame them if they don't. Look where it's gotten them. As a franchise, they've been to 11 Super Bowls, which is more than any other franchise in the NFL. They're tied with 6 wins with the Steelers in terms of Super Bowl victories. So why change your policy? I think it's actually a good policy to get rid of somebody a year too early than it is too late. And just briefly, too, I want to go over the 12 games that the Patriots won last year. As we know, they finished the season 12-4. But in those 12 victories, I'm going to give you the points scored by their opponent: 3, 0, 14, 10, 7, 14, 0, 13, 10, 9, 13, 17. So the most opponents scored against the Patriots last year in a Patriot victory was 17 points. So if you're Bill Belichick, coaching staff, general manager in New England, you probably think to yourself, well, we could pretty much plug anybody in at quarterback and score 21 points. So I can understand why Brady left. I can understand why the Patriots didn't want to pay him. And this is what we have now, Brady in Tampa Bay.
You and I sort of agree on that. We do. We think they just couldn't come to an agreement. It was about the money, which is always is in sports. He wanted to go his way. And like you said, the Patriots had their policy, and it doesn't matter who the player is, and especially for a quarterback who's going to turn 43 in August. It is risky. There's no doubt about it. But Bradshaw, to me, kept going that Brady just must have not felt appreciated. They must not have been appreciated. I think Brady felt very appreciated in New England. I just think it was just time for him to move on. Like I stated earlier, after all these years, they couldn't come to an agreement financially. I don't think it has anything to do with being appreciated. I think it has to do with the Patriots had their line, he had his line, and they said, see you later. And that was the end of it. And
yeah, and let's keep in mind, not to interrupt you too, Todd, sorry about that, but I just want to say this. Both parties, the Patriots and Tom Brady, to me, they're both winners. And that's what they want more than anything. They want to win, and they want to win again. If Tom Brady can get to another Super Bowl, that would be 10 Super Bowl appearances. I never thought in my life that I would ever see somebody start in 10 Super Bowls. If Brady can pull this off in Tampa and do it this next season, he could be the first quarterback to quarterback a team that is hosting a Super Bowl. That's never happened. So Brady wants to win. That's something we know. And when you look at the receiving core, Godwin and Mike Evans, those guys combined for 2,500 receiving yards last year. If you take the entire Patriot receiving core, tight ends, running backs, everybody, you're only going to come up with 2,600 yards. So for Tom Brady, he wants to win, and he wants to win again. The Patriots, the same story. They want to win, and they weren't sure that they could do it with a 43-year-old quarterback who is no doubt in decline. As much as I love Tom Brady, I cannot honestly tell you that he is not in decline. And when you're 43 years old, that's going to happen.
Sure is. And those are all great points. Let's go ahead and change subjects. We'll go to another quarterback in the NFL. Cam Newton was officially released today from the Panthers. What teams, Chris, do you think he's going to go to? I mean, we've got the Chargers. There's not a whole lot of clubs left. The Chargers seem like that's the first team that pops up in my head. What about you?
Yeah, and I think that's a good guess, Todd. The Chargers are going to be moving into a multi-billion-dollar stadium next season in Inglewood, California. They're going to share that facility with the Rams, but they need to sell some tickets. And they know the past couple of years at the StubHub Center in Carson was they were kind of punting as far as selling tickets. They weren't really under the gun, but now they have to sell some tickets. And when you look at their roster, there's not a lot of big names on that roster. So a big name at quarterback, a former MVP, league MVP, a guy who guided a team to a 15-1 record just as recently as 5 seasons ago, who's only 31 years old. Think about that. 12 years younger than Tom Brady. I think that's would be a most likely destination for him. But there's also teams like Jacksonville that I wonder about. Are they really going to ride with Gardner Minshew as their starting quarterback on day one? Perhaps they are. They seem to be in rebuild mode. So the Chargers, to me, seem like the most likely of destinations. But who knows?
Who knows? I thought the Bears until they picked up the former Eagles winning quarterback there that won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. And why am I stuck on his name today? But you
That's
know what?
okay. It's Nick Foles, but
Nick
yeah,
Foles,
I thought the same. I thought the same thing too, Todd. I thought Chicago would have been a good fit. A good.
Me too. Yeah, I was thinking Nick Foles went to the Bears, and so that was out. I really can't think of any other teams really that I can just go, yeah, Cam Newton will go there. Not the Raiders, not the Chiefs, certainly. Um, you know, we're what? Not the Colts. They signed Phillip Rivers. Not the Texans. Um, Not the Titans. I just can't. I could go on and list them. I can't think of any team. Not the
Yeah.
Bengals. They're going to draft Joe Burrow. Not the Browns. You know what? I guess I started kicking the tires. Maybe the Steelers is a backup. You know, Ben Roethlisberger with his elbow injury last year. You know, that's a pitcher coming as throwing a lot of footballs. You know, a lot of pitchers. He had that same injury that a lot of pitchers do. You know, that's a risk with his elbow. Maybe they bring him in and sign him up as a backup. Does he come in and take less money as a backup, knowing that Ben doesn't have much longer to play? I don't know. I'm just throwing out a team that's possible.
Well, it's a good suggestion too, Todd, because there's no way that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to continue to ride with Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges as their backups. We saw how well that worked out for them last year. I mean, if they would have had any kind of a decent backup, they would have made the playoffs last season. So there's no way they're going to make that mistake twice in a row. So to me, they're either going to get Jameis Winston, and if they can't make a deal with Jameis Winston, Cam Newton is certainly a distinct possibility.
He sure is. Well, let's go ahead and let's go to some more free agent talk. Let's go to the team in our team here in the NFC South, the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, they made a ton of moves. I mean, they just keep making more moves. And the big question for me for free agency, well, I have several. We got about 8-10 minutes left in the show here. Can Todd Gurley stay healthy? The Falcons signed him to a one-year contract. It is a risk. When you look at Gurley, he has played in a lot of games. You know, in 18, he played in 14 games. He had 1,200 yards. He almost had 5 yards a carry. He scored 17 touchdowns. And in 19, he played in 15 games. He had 857 yards. He did average about 3.8 a carry. He still scored 12 touchdowns, and he wasn't really healthy last year. You know, he caught 31 passes for 207 yards. And when you compare it to Devontae Freeman, Chris, who only played 2 games in 2018, and in 2019, he did play 14 games, but he only averaged 3.6 yards a carry, which is under Gurley. But the only question, I think the Falcons, it was worth the risk because Dimitroff and Quinn, they got to win this season, the GM and coach. So was it worth it with his left knee? And he'll be rejuvenated. He's coming home, the former UGA product. So do you think it was worth it for them to do it? I do.
Well, yeah, it seems like a low risk and potentially high reward proposition. So I think it's definitely worth the risk. I'm skeptical, though. I mean, the stats that you cited, they really don't sound bad when you think about it. 857 yards. We know he was coming off of an injury. So if he can continue to rehab his injury and feel better physically and health-wise, then that number should go up, you would think. One stat that disturbed me, though, about last year with Todd Gurley was he didn't have one game over 100 yards. And that, to me, in 16 games is pretty puzzling. But 857 overall yards for a season is not bad, Todd, like you said. And if he can continue to get healthier, that could turn into 1,257 yards. And if it does, that would definitely be a nice pickup for the Atlanta Falcons.
It would be. And, you know, he's 25 and Devontae Freeman's 28. So I can understand why the Falcons took that risk. On the defensive side of the ball for the Falcons, they lose Devondre Campbell, their leading tackler at linebacker. But they do pick up Dante Fowler, the defensive end from the Rams. And they did fill a major need. And now, you know, he'll team with Grady Jarrett. And hopefully this will improve the defensive line. I still think they need to draft a defensive lineman in the first round and AJ Espinoza to team up, because now you're talking, you've got a defensive line. So, yeah. You know, is it a risk signing Fowler on 3 years and $48 million because, he's had some off the field issues and he likes to go out, as we all know. But will he come here and play like he played last season for the Rams?
Well, that's the biggest risk of them all, I think, is Dante Fowler. And every time I think about Dante Fowler, I cannot help but think about the draft day decision that my Jacksonville Jaguars made 5 years ago when they had elected to draft this guy instead of drafting Amari Cooper when they clearly needed receiver help and they clearly needed guys for Blake Bortles to throw the ball to at the time. Still just a puzzling move why they decided to draft Dante Fowler. And it was just it was a disaster the whole time in Jacksonville. There was incident after incident after incident. A lot of those fines and a lot of the reasons that you're hearing negative stuff about the Jacksonville Jaguars was the number of times that Dante Fowler was fined by Tom Coughlin and the administration in Jacksonville for late to meetings, late to practice, stuff like that. They were actually enforcing the rules. Maybe not all teams in the NFL actually enforce them. Well, these guys were, and they got painted as if they were the bad guys, when in reality, the bad guy was Dante Fowler. Fowler's now going to be on his third team in 3 seasons. And by the time he gets to his 6th year in the NFL, I wouldn't be surprised if he's on his 6th or 7th team. He's been a total headache everywhere he's gone. And you put him in a city like Atlanta, where it's bright lights, big city, 24/7. I don't see how his behavior gets any better. So to me, that's one of the biggest risks. Quickly, I want to say something, though, about one of the NFC South opponents the Falcons have. I thought a big pickup the past couple of days was Emmanuel Sanders going to the New Orleans Saints. Michael Thomas, as we know, caught 149 passes last year, an NFL record. The second highest amount of catches by a New Orleans Saint was 30 by Ted Ginn. So they have significantly upgraded that number 2 wide receiver spot in New Orleans. I think that was a huge pickup for the Saints and may help them win the NFC South yet once again.
Oh, you just mentioned it. It could be a division-winning move. I still think they're favorite. I still think Tampa is second. I think the Falcons are third. Picking up Tom Brady was obviously huge for Tampa Bay, and they'll build an offensive line around him through the draft, and they'll get better before the season starts. When another big story in sports, we'll move off the Atlanta Falcons because we don't have a lot of time left. We got about 3 minutes or so. Another big story to me, and why these players do it just baffles my mind. They just get on Twitter, and what does Herman Edwards say? Don't press in. Well, we know who pressed in. Deshaun Watson. He's upset with the Texans over, losing Hopkins, getting traded to the Cardinals. And, he went off on Twitter in some cryptic message today. And, it's just one thing you won't see Tom Brady do. Even if he's ticked off of the Patriots, he'll tell you he's got nothing but total respect for him and love for the Patriots. Tell him he loves Kraft, he loves Belichick, and he moves on. This is Deshaun Watson's employer. This makes him look bad.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And, there's a lot of quarterbacks. Russell Wilson lost a lot of good receivers in Seattle, and you didn't see him react like that either. So Watson's still a young guy. I guess that's the best thing I could say about him, but it's still inexcusable, and you just have to be better than that.
Just don't press in. I mean, my goodness. I mean, with all the stuff that we've got going on today with coronavirus, the pandemic, this stuff to me is just so trivial. I mean, we can't even leave our houses. I mean, the United States economy is going in the tank, and players who are wealthy, sit there and do this stuff. Look, don't press in. We do have some sad news to end the show with on the NFL and in the NFL to me. And this, Chris, is sad. Travis Frederick, the Pro Bowl center, he retired at 29 due to effects from the autoimmune disease that affects, his immune system. And, this was a guy that was an absolute beast at center, one of the best in the league. And I heard people saying, well, how concerning is it that players are retiring early? This has nothing to do with that. This is not a trend. This is a guy that has serious, disease that affects his immune system, and he wants to get out while the going's good. And it's a big loss to the Dallas Cowboys, and more importantly for the NFL, Travis Frederick. We need more players like him in the NFL and people.
Yeah, I agree, and it certainly has not been a good offseason for a team who finished 8-8 last year. Had a ton of expectations going into last year's season. I don't think they're going to have quite as many expectations going into this season.
I don't think so neither. You know what, everybody? I just wanted to say thank you very much for listening to ATL Prime Sports. Thank you, Chris, for calling in today. And I really appreciate it. You can catch Chris on Fridays on WAXE FM 107.9 and 13:7 a.m. out of Vero Beach, Florida. Chris, thanks for coming on. I'm Todd Quarter. Next tomorrow we'll be on ATL Prime Sports from 8 to 9:15 p.m. Please join us. We'll take your calls at 678-280-7123. Good evening, everyone. Have a great day and stay safe.